The sky was gray, the clouds thick and heavy with rain. It was a quiet day, the kind of day where the world seemed to slow down. Almost like it was mourning with the people who gathered in the small, quiet cemetery. A breeze whispered through. The trees and the earth smelled damp, almost like it was trying to hold on to the memory of the person they had just buried. Nathan stood there, his hands clenched in front of him, trying not to let the tears fall. It had been a year since he had last seen her, but it still felt like it had just happened. His best friend Jace had been like a brother to him. Had fought side by side, laughed together, and shared stories that only they understood. But now Jace was gone. The funeral was small, just a few friends, family, and soldiers who had worked alongside him. The world outside had continued as usual, but here, in this moment, everything seemed to stop. Nathan tried to hold it together, but the grief, the weight of it all was too much. As the ceremony came to an end, Nathan stayed behind, looking at the fresh grave in front of him. He didn't know what he was supposed to do now. Jace had always been the one who kept him going, the one who helped him when things got tough. And now, Nathan felt lost. The sound of footsteps pulled him from his thoughts. He turned to see a woman standing nearby. She was alone, her dark eyes fixed on the grave ahead of her. Nathan recognized her immediately. Her name was Alina, and she had been a friend of Jace's. The two had been close, and Nathan could tell by the way she stood there that the loss had hit her just as hard as it had hit him. Alina looked over at him, and for a moment, they just stood there in silence, both of them struggling to find the right words. Finally, she spoke, her voice soft but steady. "You didn't have to stay," she said. "You've already said your goodbyes." Nathan shook his head, a sad smile crossing his face. "I guess I'm not ready to leave him yet," he replied. "I keep thinking I'll turn around and he'll be there." Alina nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I feel the same way," she said quietly. "I keep expecting him to walk through that door, like he always did, but he won't." She paused, wiping her eyes. "I keep waiting for things to go back to the way they were, but they won't." Nathan glanced over at her, seeing the hurt in her eyes. It was the same pain he felt in his own heart, but it was different for her. She had lost someone she loved, someone who had been a part of her life for so long. And now she was alone. For a moment, they stood in silence again, each of them lost in their thoughts. The breeze picked up, rustling the leaves of the trees around them. Nathan could feel the weight of the day pressing down on him, making it hard to breathe. He was tired, so tired, but he didn't know how to let go. Alina turned to face him, her eyes filled with a kind of determination. "You know, Jace would want us to keep going," she said, her voice firm. "He wouldn't want us to give up just because he's gone. He always believed in us. He always believed in you." Nathan looked at her, his heart heavy with the loss. "I don't know how to keep going without him." "You don't have to do it alone," Alina said gently. "You're not alone, Nathan. We're all here, still standing. We're going to keep standing for him." Nathan took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her words settle into his heart. Maybe she was right. Maybe he didn't have to carry the pain alone. Maybe, just maybe, he could find a way to keep going. But the thought was hard. He wasn't sure he was ready to move forward yet. He looked back at the grave one last time, then turned to Alina. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for reminding me." She smiled, though it was small and sad. "You don't have to thank me. We all need reminding sometimes." As they began to walk away from the cemetery, Nathan's mind wandered back to the memories of Jace. He could still hear his laugh, the sound of their shared adventures, the way Jace had always known how to make everything feel better, no matter how bad things got. But now, those memories were all he had left. The walk back to his ship was long, and Nathan didn't say much as they passed through the streets. He wasn't sure what to say. The world around him felt like it was moving too fast, and he felt like he was being left behind. When they reached the ship, Nathan gave Alina a quiet nod and turned to go inside. But just as he was about to step through the door, something caught his eye. A figure was standing off to the side, just outside the main entrance. Nathan squinted, trying to make out who it was. His heart skipped a beat as he recognized the young girl standing there. It was Jace's daughter. Her name was Emily. Nathan had only met her a few times, but he could tell she had grown since the last time he'd seen her. She was standing there staring at the ground as if she didn't know what to do. Nathan felt a lump form in his throat. He hadn't expected to see her here, lest he had heard. Emily was living with her aunt on a distant colony, far away from the war and the pain that had come with it. He hadn't known she was back on the planet, much less standing here, just a few feet away from him. "Emily," he called softly, his voice catching in his throat. "What are you doing here?" The girl's head shot up and her eyes locked onto his. For a moment, she just stood there, her expression unreadable. Then, slowly, she took a step forward, her feet dragging as if she didn't want to move. "Nathan," she said quietly, "I've come to see you." Nathan's heart sank. "Why?" he asked, his voice trembling. Emily didn't answer right away. Instead, she just stood there, as if unsure of how to explain what had brought her here. Then, just as Nathan was about to ask again, he saw something that made his heart stop. Behind her, walking slowly into view, was someone he thought he would never see again, a figure that took his breath away. It was Jace's wife. Beside her, holding her hand, was their daughter. Nathan blinked, unsure of what he was seeing, but it was real. The woman who had been presumed dead, the woman who had been lost in the chaos of the war, was standing there, her eyes filled with confusion and disbelief. And beside her, Emily was smiling. Nathan stood frozen for a moment, still trying to wrap his mind around what he was seeing. There, standing before him, was Jace's wife, Emily's mother. I had thought she was lost forever, gone in the chaos of the war, but here she was, walking slowly toward him. Her eyes met his, and he saw the same grief that had been in Alina's eyes. She had been through so much. "Lena," Nathan whispered, his voice shaking, "is it really you?" Lena nodded, her lips trembling as she stepped. Closer, the years of pain were written all over her face. Her once vibrant smile had faded, replaced by the weight of everything she had endured. Nathan could barely believe it, but the evidence was standing right in front of him. I thought you were." Nathan's words trailed off. It was hard to speak when emotions were so tangled up inside of him. Lena shook her head. "I know. Everyone thought I was dead, but I wasn't. I was taken." Her voice cracked with the memories of what she had gone through. "I couldn't get back to Emily. I tried so many times, but..." Nathan could hear the pain in her voice. It was the kind of pain that couldn't be healed easily. He had experienced loss too, and he knew that the journey of healing was long. Still, seeing Lena standing there with Emily filled him with hope. Perhaps things weren't as lost as they seemed. "How did you survive?" Nathan asked softly, stepping closer to her. Lena's eyes shifted to the ground, her hands trembling slightly as she gripped the edges of her jacket. "I don't know. I was on a ship. A foreign one. It took me for reasons I still don't understand. And then I escaped. But by the time I managed to get to a place where I could return, everything had already changed. I thought I would never see Emily again." Her voice softened, and her eyes filled with tears. "I thought she was gone, and now I can't believe she's here. With you." Nathan could see the conflict in her eyes, the confusion, and the relief. He could feel it too. His heart ached for her. The kind of pain she had been through was unimaginable. And now, after all this time, she was reunited with her daughter, Emily, who had been standing quietly by the door, slowly walked toward her mother. She didn't speak, but the way she held her hand out to Lena spoke volumes. Nathan watched as Lena's face softened, and for the first time in years, she smiled, a genuine smile, filled with love. Lena took Emily's hand, her fingers trembling as she held it. "I never wanted to leave you," Lena whispered, tears running down her face. "I didn't want to miss your life." Emily looked up at her mother, her voice steady and calm, though she was clearly struggling to hold back her own emotions. "I knew you were out there. I knew you were alive." She paused and then added softly, "I never gave up." The reunion between mother and daughter was nothing short of magical. In that moment, it didn't matter how many years had passed or how much they had suffered. What mattered was that they were together again. Nathan stood back, giving them space, not wanting to intrude on such an intimate and emotional moment. He knew that he had to be careful. They had both been through too much. "I'm glad you're both back together," Nathan said quietly, his voice filled with sincerity. Lena turned toward him, her eyes softening as she wiped away her tears. Thank you, Nathan. I don't know how I could ever repay you for bringing Emily here. Her voice faltered, and she looked down at her daughter. I thought she was lost to me forever. Nathan smiled softly, feeling the weight of her gratitude. There's nothing to repay. I just helped get you home. This. He looked at them both, watching as they shared a moment of silent understanding. This is the real gift. Stood in silence for a moment, each of them feeling the enormity of the reunion. For Nathan, it was a bittersweet feeling. He had never expected to be in this situation, helping bring these two together. But he couldn't deny the relief that filled him, seeing them both alive and well. After a few moments, Lena spoke again, her voice quiet but steady. I don't even know where to start. Everything feels so unfamiliar. Emily looked up at her mother, offering a small, reassuring smile. It's okay, Mom. We'll take it one step at a time. Lena nodded, squeezing Emily's hand. Then she looked back at Nathan, her eyes filled with gratitude. I never thought I'd see this day. After everything that happened, after all the things I've been through. She paused, shaking her head. I don't know what I would have done without you, Nathan. I don't think I can ever thank you enough. Nathan was about to reply when a sudden thought struck him. He had brought Lena and Emily together, but there was still so much they needed to process. Their journey was far from over. There were so many things they needed to talk about, and the pain of the past wouldn't just vanish in an instant. They had to rebuild. Lena, Emily, Nathan said gently, I think you both need time. To talk, to process everything that's happened. He glanced at Emily, who looked up at him with understanding. This reunion is just the beginning. There's a long road ahead. Lena nodded, though her expression was filled with both hope and uncertainty. You're right, she said softly. I have a lot of things to explain, and so much has changed. I understand, Nathan said, his voice warm, and I'll be here if you need me. Take all the time you need. For a moment it felt like time had stopped. The three of them stood there, in the quiet of the room, each of them contemplating the future. It was a future that had been uncertain for so long, but now, with Lena and Emily back together, there was a chance for healing, for moving forward, as Nathan left them alone to start the healing process. He couldn't help but feel a sense of peace wash over him. He had played a small part in helping these two souls reunite, but the real work would be theirs. And somehow he knew that they would be okay. Nathan walked slowly down the corridor of the ship, his mind still processing the unexpected events. He had helped bring Lena and Emily back together, but now, as he left them alone to catch up, he found himself feeling strangely empty. It wasn't that he wasn't happy for them. He was. He had seen the love between mother and daughter, and he knew how much they had both suffered. But something inside him stirred. He had been alone for so long, and he couldn't help but wonder what his own future would look like. The door to his quarters slid open, and Nathan stepped inside. He was about to sit down when his communicator beeped. He grabbed it, surprised to see a message from an old friend. It was from Lucas. It's one of the few people who had survived with him during the war. Lucas had always been the kind of person who kept things light, who made jokes even in the darkest times. But now the message was brief. Nathan, we need to talk. It's urgent. Nathan felt a chill run down his spine. What could be so urgent after everything they had been through? He thought the danger had passed. But Lucas wouldn't send a message like this unless it was serious. He immediately set his course for the meeting room, his steps quickening as he wondered what Lucas needed. When he arrived, the door slid open to reveal a familiar face. Was sitting at the table, his expression more serious than Nathan had ever seen. You look like someone just pulled the rug out from under you, Nathan said, walking in and sitting across from his friend. Lucas let out a sigh and leaned back in his chair. I wish it was that simple, he said, running a hand through his hair. I wish this was just another mission or a quick problem to fix, but it's not. Nathan leaned forward, his curiosity piqued. What's going on? Lucas hesitated, his eyes shifting to the side. He looked uncomfortable, like he was about to reveal something that would change everything. "There's a ship, Nathan. A ship that shouldn't exist. It's heading right for us." Nathan's heart skipped a beat. "What kind of ship?" Lucas opened a datapad and handed it over to Nathan. The screen displayed an image of a sleek, dark ship, unlike anything Nathan had ever seen before. It was enormous, almost like a battleship, with strange markings along its hull. "This is the ship of an alien faction we've never encountered before," Lugans continued. "They've been sending signals, and they're coming in fast. We don't know who they are or what they want, but we know they're dangerous." Nathan stared at the image. The ship looked ancient, but the technology on it was beyond anything the human fleet had ever used. He could feel the weight of the situation sink in. "So what do we do?" Nathan asked, his voice steady, though his mind raced with the possibilities. "Do we prepare for a fight?" Lucas shook his head. "Not yet. We don't even know if they're hostile. But I wanted to warn you before anything happened. If we need to act, we need to act quickly." Nathan took a deep breath, trying to calm his nerves. The thought of facing an unknown enemy filled him with both fear and determination. He had been in battles before, but this felt different. This unknown always did. "I'll talk to the crew," Nathan said, standing up. "We'll be ready, no matter what happens." As he turned to leave, Lucas called out to him. "Nathan," he said, his voice quieter now, "I've been thinking. Right. We need to prepare for the worst. This ship, whatever it is, might be more powerful than anything we've ever faced." Nathan nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "I'll take care of it, don't worry." With that, Nathan left the room, his mind still whirling with the news. As he walked through the ship, he felt a sense of urgency settle over him. There was no time to waste. The unknown ship could be hours away, and they needed to be ready for whatever came next. He found Lena and Emily in the common area, talking quietly. They looked up when Nathan entered, and Lena smiled at him, though there was still a hint of sadness in her eyes. "How are you feeling?" Nathan asked, giving them both a warm smile. Lena glanced at Emily, who nodded slightly. "We're okay," she said softly. "Just trying to take things one step at a time." Nathan sat down across from them, his tone turning serious. "Just received some news. There's a ship on the way. We don't know what it is yet, but it's unlike anything we've seen before." Emily's eyes widened, and Lena's expression turned worried. "A ship? What kind of ship?" Lena asked, her voice filled with concern. "I don't know yet," Nathan replied, "but I'll make sure everyone is prepared. I just wanted to let you know. I don't want you to be surprised if anything happens." Lena nodded, though she looked uneasy. "Thank you for letting us know, Nathan. I can't imagine what you must be feeling right now, with everything that's happened." Her voice softened. "But if you need help, we're here." Nathan smiled, appreciating the offer. "I know. And I'll take you up on that if I need." 2. After a long silence, Lena spoke again. "I'm still trying to wrap my head around everything. The last time I saw you, Nathan, you were helping me with the loss of Jace. Now, here we are, facing something new. Something I don't even understand." Nathan leaned back in his chair. "I never expected this either, but we'll get through it. Together." With that, the conversation shifted to practical matters. Nathan knew they would need to be ready for anything. But as he looked at Lena and Emily, he couldn't help but feel a sense of hope. After all the pain and loss, they had found each other again. Now they would face this new challenge as a family. Nathan stood up, his resolve firm. "I need to go prepare the crew. Stay safe, both of you. I'll keep you updated." As he left them to continue their talk, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something much bigger than they had ever imagined. The unknown ship was coming, and he was ready to face whatever came next. The room was filled with a quiet hum of energy as Nathan walked down the hall. He had called a meeting with the crew, ready to explain what he had just learned, the news of the mysterious ship, and the possibility of it being more dangerous than anything they had faced before, weighed heavily on his mind. But what bothered him more was the feeling that something else was coming, something that was connected to the past. He couldn't shake the feeling that the ship was just a distraction. There was more at play here than just an alien ship approaching. As Nathan reached the command center, he saw the crew already gathered around the table, waiting for him. Their faces were a mixture of concern and curiosity. They knew something was off, but they didn't know what. "All right, everyone," Nathan said as he took his seat. His voice was calm, but inside he was anything but. "We've got a situation on our hands." The crew members leaned forward, their eyes focused on him, waiting for details. "There's a ship coming," Nathan continued. "An unknown alien vessel. We don't know who they are or what they want, but we know they're powerful, and they're coming fast." There were murmurs around the table, a few raised eyebrows, but no one spoke. They had faced plenty of unknown enemies before, but none like this. "I've been briefed by Lucas," Nathan said, glancing at the crew. "We don't know if they're hostile, but we have to be ready for anything. The ship is unlike anything we've ever encountered." "They're close, too close." "What do we do?" asked Captain Rourke, the ship's leader. His voice was steady, but Nathan could hear the worry in it. Rourke had led them through some difficult times, but this felt different. "We prepare. Check all systems. Make sure we're ready for a fight if it comes to that. There's something else." Nathan paused for a moment. He could feel the weight of his next words. "This ship. It's not just a random encounter. I think it's connected to something in our past." The room fell silent. Everyone looked at each other, unsure of what Nathan meant. His words hung in the air like a heavy fog. What did he mean by connected to our past? They had been fighting for their lives in an unfamiliar galaxy for years, but what was he talking about now? Why would you say that? Captain Rourke asked, his brow furrowed. Nathan took a deep breath, his mind racing. "I don't have all the answers yet, but I've seen this before. Or rather, I've heard of it. There are stories, legends about a race of aliens who once traveled the stars, conquering worlds, controlling civilizations. They were powerful, and they disappeared for centuries. The people who remember them think they're myths. But now?" Nathan's voice trailed off, his eyes narrowing. "Now, it seems they might be real." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Legends of powerful alien races were not new, but to hear one come to life, to see the stories become reality, that was different. The possibility of an ancient enemy resurfacing brought a new kind of fear. "We need to find out everything we can about this ship and who's on it," Nathan continued, his voice hardening with resolve. "We can't take any chances." Rourke nodded. "Understood. We'll start with the data we have on the ship's trajectory and any signals they've been sending. We'll work with the crew to make sure we're ready for whatever comes next." Nathan stood up, ready to head out and prepare for the unknown. But as he turned to leave, he felt a hand on his shoulder. Looked back to see Alina standing behind him, her expression serious. "Nathan, wait," she said, her voice filled with concern. "Are you sure about this? Are you sure this is just about the ship? Or is there something more?" Nathan hesitated, looking into her eyes. She had always been sharp, able to see through the layers of uncertainty that clouded his thoughts. She knew him well, "I don't know," Nathan said quietly. "But I have this feeling. Something's off. This ship is too much of a coincidence. It's not just about us being in the wrong place at the wrong time. I think it's bigger than that." Alina didn't say anything at first. She just looked at him, her eyes filled with understanding. Finally, she nodded as if she had come to a decision. "Whatever it is, you're not alone in this," she said firmly. "We'll all face it together. We've always stuck together, and we always will." Nathan gave her a grateful nod, feeling the weight of her words sink in. Was right. No matter what this new challenge was, they would face it as a team, and that was the only way they could survive. With that, he left the command center, heading toward the docking bay where the crew was preparing the ship for any potential threat. The air was thick with tension, but Nathan was determined to stay focused. Whatever came next, he couldn't let it distract him from the mission at hand, back in the common area. Lena and Emily were sitting together, quietly talking. They looked up when Nathan walked in, both their faces showing the signs of the emotions they had been working through. They had been through so much already, and now this new threat loomed over them. "Is everything okay?" Lena asked, standing up as Nathan entered. Nathan smiled, though it didn't reach his eyes. For now, yeah. We've got a new problem, but we're working on it. What kind of problem? Emily asked, her voice soft but filled with concern. Nathan hesitated. He didn't want to burden them with the weight of everything, but he also knew they had a right to know. There's a ship coming, Nathan said, sitting down across from them, an unknown ship. We don't know who they are yet, but they're dangerous, and we need to be ready for whatever they throw at us. Lena's eyes widened in fear, but Emily reached out and gently placed her hand on her mother's. We've faced difficult things before. We can do this, Emily said with quiet strength. Nathan nodded, feeling a small sense of relief. Emily had always been strong, even when she was younger. It was clear that despite everything, she still had that strength within her. And maybe, just maybe, that strength would help them all face what was coming. Right, Nathan said, standing up again. We'll be ready, but we all need to stick together. It's the only way we're going to get through this. With that, he turned and left, heading back to the command center. As he walked down the hallway, the weight of the situation pressed on him. The ship was coming closer, and they had no idea what was waiting for them. But Nathan was determined to protect those he cared about, whatever it took. The day had finally arrived. The unknown ship was closing in on their position, and the crew had been working non-stop to prepare for whatever might come. Nathan stood at the observation window, staring out into the vast expanse of space. His mind was racing, his thoughts tangled with uncertainty. He had done everything he could to get the ship and its crew ready for the upcoming encounter. But he couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Alina walked up beside him, her footsteps quiet. She had been there, with him, through everything, the battles, the loss, the long quiet nights. And now, in the face of this new threat, she stood by him again, ready for whatever came next. They're getting closer, Nathan said, his voice low. His eyes never left the window. I just wish I knew what they wanted. Alina placed a hand on his shoulder. We'll find out soon enough, she said softly. But we'll face it together, like we always do. Nathan nodded, trying to find comfort in her words. He wanted to believe that everything would be okay. But the unknown ship's appearance had stirred something deep within him, something that made him feel like they were on the edge of something much bigger. He glanced over at her. Lena, how's Emily? Alina smiled, though it was small. They're okay. It's hard, but they're stronger than I think they know. Lena's been trying to help Emily adjust, and I think they're starting to heal. Slowly. Nathan let out a breath. I'm glad. They've been through enough already. They've had their own battles, just like the rest of us. Alina said gently. But they're not alone anymore. They've got you now. And they've got each other. The thought gave Nathan a small sense of peace. Lena and Emily had been through so much the years apart, the fear, the uncertainty. But now they were together again, and maybe that was enough to start healing the wounds that had been carved so deep into their hearts. As Nathan turned to leave the observation room, his soft voice stopped him. It was Emily, standing in the doorway. Her eyes filled with concern. Nathan, she said quietly, her voice steady despite the situation. Can I talk to you for a moment? Nathan motioned for her to come in. Of course. What's on your mind? Emily stepped forward, looking at him with a mixture of determination and uncertainty. I know you're preparing for what's coming, and I know it's hard. But I want you to know something. Nathan raised an eyebrow, unsure of where this conversation was headed. I know it's not easy, Emily continued. I know you're worried about all of us, and I know you feel responsible for everything. But you don't have to carry it all by yourself. Nathan felt a lump form in his throat. Her words were simple, but they carried so much weight. The burden he had been carrying for so long, the constant feeling that it was all on his shoulders, it was something he hadn't even realized had been eating away at him until now. I've been through a lot too, Emily said, her voice softening. We all have, and we've all lost something. But we don't have to go through it alone. You've done so much for us already, Nathan. You've brought my mom back to me.
Hi.
And now we're here for you too. Nathan's heart clenched at the sincerity in her words. This young girl, who had already faced so much, was offering him the very thing he needed the most support. And in that moment, he realized that maybe, just maybe, they could all heal together. He swallowed hard, trying to keep his emotions in check. "Thank you, Emily. I don't know what I would have done without you." Emily gave him a small, reassuring smile. "You don't have to do it alone. We're a team." Nathan nodded, feeling a sense of warmth wash over him. The crew, Lena, Emily, these people had become his family. They had been through battles together, faced the unknown, and survived. And now, with the new threat looming, it was time for them to stand together once again. Later that day, the crew gathered in the command center ready for the ship's arrival. The atmosphere was tense, but there was a quiet resolve in the air. They had prepared as much as they could, and now all they could do was wait. Nathan stood at the front, looking out at the crew. "Everyone, listen up," he said, his voice steady despite the nerves running through him. "We don't know what's coming. We don't know who's on that ship or what they want. But we know one thing for sure: we'll face it together." The crew nodded in agreement, their faces determined. They had fought many battles together, and they knew that as long as they stuck together, they could handle whatever came their way. "We're ready," Captain Rourke said, his voice strong. Nathan looked around at the crew, feeling a deep sense of pride. These were his people, his family, and no matter what happened, they would face it together. As the hours passed, the tension in the room grew. The unknown ship was closing in, and the crew was on high alert. Nathan couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming, something bigger than just a battle. This wasn't just another fight. This was something that would change everything. Finally, the moment came. The ship appeared on the radar, its silhouette dark against the stars. Nathan could feel the air in the room grow still. They were ready, but the uncertainty of what lay ahead hung over them like a storm cloud. Lena and Emily stood off to the side, watching the scene unfold. Lena reached out and took Emily's hand, her grip tight but comforting. "We're in this together," Lena said softly, her voice steady. "No matter what happens." Emily nodded, her eyes focused on the screen. "We'll make it through."
Us?
The unknown ship came closer. Nathan took a deep breath and turned to the crew. "Prepare for anything," he said, his voice calm but firm. "We don't know what they're here for, but we're ready." And with that, the ship prepared to meet the unknown. The unknown ship loomed larger on the screen, its shape becoming clearer as it drew closer. Nathan stood with his arms crossed, staring at the approaching vessel. He could feel the weight of the moment in his chest. The tension was almost unbearable. The crew had done everything they could to prepare. Now, it was time to face the unknown. The hum of the ship's engines was the only sound in the command center. Everyone was focused on their tasks, checking systems, preparing for a possible confrontation. But beneath the surface, there was a shared feeling of uncertainty. No one knew what this new alien ship would bring, and that uncertainty gnawed at Nathan more than he wanted to admit. "Nathan," Captain Rourke's voice broke through his thoughts. "We're in position. The ship is coming in fast. Should we signal them?" Nathan turned to face his captain. Rourke's expression was calm, but there was a tension in his posture that betrayed his nerves. It was used to fighting, used to leading. The crew through dangerous situations, but this was different. This wasn't just a fight for survival, it felt like. They were on the edge of something much bigger. Nathan took a deep breath and nodded. "Yes, send the signal. Let's see what they do." The ship's communications officer, a young woman named Sarah, tapped at her console. A series of beeps filled the room as she transmitted the signal. For a few moments, there was nothing. Then, the comm screen lit up with a message. A strange series of symbols and images that made no sense to anyone on board. "What the hell is that?" Rourke muttered under his breath. Sarah frowned, trying to make sense of the transmission. "Not any language we've encountered before," she said, her fingers flying over the controls. "But I think there's a pattern here." Nathan stepped forward, trying to keep his mind focused. "Keep working on it," he said. "We need to know what they want." As the seconds ticked by, Nathan couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The transmission wasn't like anything they'd ever seen, and it made him uneasy. There was no simple greeting, no sign of any kind of communication that was familiar. It was as if the ship was testing them. "Captain," Sarah said suddenly, her voice tight. "I think I've got something. It's a message." The room fell silent. Everyone turned toward Sarah as she translated the symbols on the screen into something that made sense. "I don't believe it," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's a warning." Nathan's heart skipped a beat. A warning. A warning from an alien race they had never encountered before. His mind raced. What could it mean? What kind of warning? Rourke asked, his voice thick with tension. Sarah paused for a moment, her fingers still on the console as she processed the data. It says... She looked up at Nathan. It says, "Do not engage. We're not ready." The words hit Nathan like a punch to the gut. It was clear now that they were dealing with something far beyond what they had prepared for. This wasn't just another hostile alien race. This was something far more advanced, something that believed they weren't ready to face it. Nathan's mind raced. He had spent years fighting, training, and surviving. He had never backed down from a challenge. But this was different. He had no idea what they were up against, but one thing was certain. If they didn't handle this carefully, it could lead to the end of everything they had fought for. "We can't just sit here and do nothing," Nathan said, his voice tight. "We need to know more. We need to understand what they want." "I agree," Rourke said. "But what do we do about that warning? Should we follow it?" Nathan thought for a moment, his mind racing through the possibilities. He could feel the eyes of the crew on him, waiting for him to make a decision. He had always led with confidence. But now, faced with the unknown, he felt a weight like never before. "We don't know what they're capable of," Nathan said slowly. "But if we don't approach this carefully, we could be inviting disaster. I think we should hold off on any offensive actions for now. Let's see if they make the next move." Hesse spoke. Lena and Emily entered the room. They had been staying in the common area, waiting for news, and the tension had clearly reached them. Lena looked at Nathan, her eyes filled with concern. "What's happening?" she asked quietly. "Are we in danger?" Nathan looked at her, trying to keep his own. Worry from showing. "We don't know yet, but it's possible. We're trying to figure out what they want." Emily stepped forward, her expression serious. "You're not alone in this, you know. We're here. We've been through hard things before, and we can handle this." Lena put a hand on her daughter's shoulder, offering a small smile. "She's right. We're in this together, Nathan." Nathan looked at them both, feeling a surge of gratitude. Despite the danger, despite the uncertainty, he wasn't alone. They weren't alone. He had his crew, his family, and together they could face whatever came their way. "I'm glad you're both here," Nathan said, his voice steady. "We'll get through this." The sound of a soft beep interrupted their conversation. Sarah looked up, her eyes wide. "Incoming message," she said, her voice low with urgency. The room fell silent again as the message came through. It was a simple command, short and direct. "Prepare for contact." The words sent a chill down Nathan's spine. Whatever was coming, it was happening now, Captain Nathan said, his voice firm. "Prepare the crew. We need to be ready for." "Anything," Rourke nodded. "Aye, sir. We'll be ready." Nathan took a deep breath, trying to calm the nerves that had been building inside of him. This wasn't just a fight for survival. This was a test. A test of everything they had built, everything they had fought for. And he would not let it slip away. As he turned to leave the command center, Emily's voice followed him. "Remember? Nathan, we've got each other." Nathan nodded, her words echoing in his mind. He wasn't just fighting for survival, he was fighting for the future, for the people he cared about, for the life they could still have, and as the unknown ship, prepared to make contact. Nathan knew one thing for certain. They were going to face this challenge together, no matter what it took.